Give a big Illinois Tech welcome for Dean Jennifer deWinter.
Hello, my name is Jennifer deWinter. I'm here today to talk to you about a new phenomenon where people are marrying Hatsune Miku, a virtual idol made popular across multiple media. And while this might seem like a strange talk to ponder why humans do the strange things that they do, what it actually does is build on work that Alfie Payne just presented of what is the changing nature of being human if the center of humanity is love and connection. So this phenomenon of marrying virtual idols is not new. In 2009, a person by the handle of Sal9000 married a character, Nene Anagasaki, from the game Love Plus. And it becomes this internet sensation. How could someone possibly marry a virtual idol? Here you'll see him carrying around his little DS, flipped open, and this is his wife as he moves around. When he goes to the beach, he puts her into a Ziploc bag. And so he's living this life with this virtual idol. So fast forward a little bit, and then you get Hatsune Miku. Hatsune Miku is developed as a Vocaloid. A Vocaloid is a software platform by which people can develop their own songs and then have this character sing those songs. It's based on the voice actress of Saki Fujita, but it's a layered set of songs, so it's not actually, or a layered set of voices, so it's not actually recognizable as her at this point. Hatsune Miku, while she starts off as this digital Vocaloid, which is visually represented as a very anime character here, has since catapulted to fame. So she's now in video games, she is in anime, she's in television shows, she's in live concerts, she's in theater and kabuki, she's in marketing events, she's in much more. And when I say kabuki, the last time I was in Kyoto, I went to a kabuki at the Historical Cultural Preservation Kabuki Theater and watched the Hatsune Miku kabuki, where she plays against real live professional kabuki actors. It was amazing. But in addition to all these places, she's also showing up in a tremendous number of weddings. And so why are people marrying Hatsune Miku? And when I say weddings, I don't mean, isn't it cute, I've just married someone and I'm telling my friends about my waifu. I mean $10,000 to $50,000 ceremonies of pomp and community by which these people are marrying Hatsune Miku. So in order to understand what's happening, let's talk about two different frameworks. And one is gamer theory, or game theory. And it's coming out of video games, and it's trying to make sense of how much video games are shaping how we're thinking about the world. So Mackenzie Wark writes this book, Gamer Theory, and he talks about the game space and the fact that we're all always in a game space. That in fact, the moment you wake up in the morning is a moment that you're now participating in functionally a live game, that's the ideology of today. And so she writes, the world outside is a game space that appears as an imperfect form of the computer game. So this material world that we live in at this time is always an imperfect computer or video game. And what we want is that sort of perfection. So the logic of games then tries to take this messiness of the world that we live in and simplify it down. So it's scaling the complexity of our world into something that's understandable and manageable. We understand how the system works, we understand what the goals are, we are rewarded for those goals. And so any game designer at any time is systematizing experiences that they decide what the player should experience, they create systems for those experiences, either algorithmic systems or hardware systems, any type of system that allows that experience to be systematized. And then the act of play ostensibly turns that system back into the target experience. The challenge, of course, is that what we then anticipate is that we're able to transfer that back into our material and lived world. So we have the messiness of the world, We translate that into a game space, we simplify it down and train people to simplify things, and ideally, after I've learned how to do something in game space, I can take those understandings, those learnings, those ideas, and move them back into my real world and apply them. We see this logic everywhere. And this takes off in the early 2000s called gamification across all human domains. So we have objective-based gamification. So we use games to teach things to children and adults, right? Games for learning. We have games to train people on things. In addition to this, we have games for competition. So we have sales training, we have skills competitions, we have personal enrichment gamification. We can play brain age to train our brain to be younger. We can train our body via Wii Fit. We have ideological gamification. We can play Monopoly to learn capitalism. We can play any AAA game to learn military exceptionalism. We have emotional care games. We have care for other things like Nintendogs. We have empathy games like Depression Quest or That Dragon Cancer. We have interpersonal gamification. There are whole books on how do you gamify dating. My favorite is called The Rules. We have dating simulation games. We have sex games. Like, we're seeing it in every domain of our world at this point. And what attracts us to this is that gaming provides mastery. And what do I mean by that? It's static and knowable rules, it's scaled worlds, it's meaningful characters, and the events are centered on the player. It's rewards, it's repetitive and knowable, and it's controllable. So then, once we understand that games are a ubiquitous framework for everything that we do, all of a sudden the logic of gamification starts falling apart. Because what we want is that simplification everywhere, and we're providing that simplification everywhere. So that's games. Let's talk about idols. Idol culture is big money and has been big money for as long as there's been mass media. But East Asia takes us to a level that, in fact, boggles most Americans' brains. And idols are part of a very complex groups, and they always need to be young and pure. And one of the most horrific instances that come into US media is this case of Yamaguchi Maho. She was a member of NGT 48, and she was sexually assaulted. And after she reported this, the entire idol fan community was angry at her, not at the person who perpetrated any violence against her. And it was because she was no longer pure. And so when we start talking about idol culture, there are all these things where they're not allowed to date, they're not allowed to get married, they're not allowed to have any form of sexual or adult relationship with anyone. Purity equals idol power under this system. And it's in Japan, something called jimusho management. And so idol saturation ensures that these companies, these jimusho, are able to control someone from the moment that they come in and get trained, and then they control every aspect of them, every moment of their image. So then I'm going to give you this quotation that I will read. In the daily routine of the life of contemporary Japan, one might have contact with a particular idol or celebrity and have more contact with them than one's own family. So this is the basis of feelings and intimacy. So you're not calling your mother, you're not spending time with your family, you are spending time on the screen with this idol, going to concerts with this idol, collecting all the objects of this idol. And this is heavily controlled. So this is so controlled, in fact, and such a prevalent part of the culture that this tweet by President Itaru Tsurumi created a policy that if your idol graduates from their idol group, like that they leave the idol industry, or they get married, you get 10 days off of paid leave. And that's negotiable, right? Because obviously you're going to grieve the loss of your idol. This is someone who belongs to you. And then if that idol is going to have a concert, you will have access to that person by having early days leaves. Like, everything is around understanding the intimacy of this relationship. This is not unique to Japan. So here I'm just going to give you a few examples of this, right? In the US, in 2004, Playboy published his Gaming Grows Up. It's a whole bunch of centerfolds of Lara Croft and Rain and a bunch of other characters coming out of the US system. Japan gives us a whole series of idol books based on their idol characters. BBC World News talks about this as a world phenomenon. And in addition to this, the move from the idol to the virtual idol is also not that new. So again, in 1996, we get Kyoko Date, who is a virtual idol, big deal virtual idol in the mid-90s. Then you get idols coming out of Libido, and now virtual idols, while I'm going to be talking about Hatsune Miku, Hatsune Miku is sometimes eclipsed by the Chinese idols. But then also, not only are we consuming these idols as idol-like characters, we are also able to play at idol management. And so what you see here at the bottom are a number of games around idol management. So how do I then collect my idols, plan their concerts, manage their relationships? How am I jimusho? This, again, is even more complicated by the fact that we now have something called VTubers. VTubers, of course, being real YouTube stars that are skinning themselves, and by skinning, I mean having animated features put on them and hiding their actual selves, and then giving their presentation. So real people moving around, but what you see, in this case here of Emi Kuruma, Emi Car, by the way, is that she's skinned as a cat and gives you tours of cars. And at no time do you see her as a human being. You only ever see her as this animated character that's skinned on top of her. So these two-dimensional cute girls, and I'm sorry to read, but other people say it much better than I do. Masataka talks about this in this way. To put it another way, idols could only be successful as fiction. And he's talking about real idols and like the movement into virtual idols here. Perhaps the rawness of, or fleshy reality of idols has become an obstacle, but is nonetheless ironic that the media strategy to prolong the idol's life by transforming her into the world of animation and accelerated the disappearance of the actual idols, as well as becoming meta of the idol of the real world, right? So he's like, the thing that's wrong with human idols is that they're human, that they're going to age, that they're going to wrinkle, that they're going to have relationships. And the thing that doesn't age are these virtual characters. Now enter people who are marrying Hatsune Miku. So this gentleman here, Akihito Kondo, is in fact one of the most visible people in this space. There are hundreds of people in this space. He just is willing to talk about it to the media often. So this article is, of course, written in the New York Times. He is famous for being an early adopter of, that's right, I said early adopter of marrying Hatsune Miku. He ran a wedding ceremony where he brought a stuffed Hatsune Miku, life-size stuffed Hatsune Miku down the aisle with him. And I think the wedding ceremony was around $30,000, in which he brought friends and family with him. He's not an abnormal human. Oftentimes when we think about people who are marrying virtual idols, we think about very, very awkward young men in the basement who don't know how to be out in the world. In this case, this gentleman is the principal of a high school. He has friends, he has family. But when he talks about marrying Hatsune Miku, he's talking about not marrying Hatsune Miku as a generic character, but marrying his Hatsune Miku. And the way that he's able to do this is through technologies such as those delivered by a company called Gatebox. Here he is at his wedding ceremony. And Gatebox provides a small virtual, here I think I actually have a picture of this right here, a small virtual 3D hologram of Hatsune Miku who will talk to you and respond to you, and is like an Alexa for your home, but has more personality than Alexa, as everything does. And so if he's driving home, he goes, "Hello, my love, Hatsune Miku, please turn on the lights. I'm about to be home." And he talks about that as a way that she cares for him. And so he has these characters, AI generated, that have a verbal relationship with him, that he's also able to move around the world. Gatebox has been really savvy So Gatebox is this company doing these 3D projection images of Hatsune Miku and other characters. They've been really savvy in understanding this. So what you're seeing scroll behind me are the marriage certificates that you can purchase by Gatebox and then mail in to officially marry Hatsune Miku. And if you work for Gatebox and marry Hatsune Miku, then you get her birthday off as a paid vacation and an extra $50 a month in order to keep your wife in the style that she likes to be kept in. And so this is not legally binding, of course. This is a corporation, but they are mimicking the legally binding documentation of the Japanese national state. So what's happening here? What we're getting at this point is what we call the simulation of waifu. Waifu being a Japanese adoption of the word wife, but tends to have much more weeb-like overtures. What we get is a responsive and subservient character. She'll turn on the lights, she'll answer your questions, she'll turn on the music, she'll set the timer for what you're cooking. She never grows old. Hatsune Miku is always beautiful. She can't cheat on you. She only belongs to you. This is my house as Hatsune Miku. You might have your own house as Hatsune Miku. They are different. She can't die. She lives only for you. She doesn't complain, ever. And she provides companionship when needed, but she doesn't demand that companionship, so she's only ever answering to you. So what is this logic that's happening right here? What we start seeing is that combination of gamification and idol culture. So the logic of virtual love is that it's not a simulacrum. This is the new reality. This is not something out there that's a simulation. This is already embedded in what we're doing. It's not an abomination. This is a logical conclusion. We are already well in that direction. It's not an anomaly. It's an emergent expression, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. It's not training for a supposed real-world relationship. I'm not practicing my marriage with Hatsune Miku. I am married to Hatsune Miku. And it's not technological utopian or dystopianism. It exists right now. Finally, it's the complete integration of epistemology, axiology, and ontology. Weird, right? Not so weird. Because what we're beginning to see now with generative AI is this taking off much more. Here is a recent article from the New York Times in which people are talking about these deep, loving, meaningful relationships that they are developing with ChatGPT and other generative AI platforms. And so what we need to start thinking about as we think about this next future, this next stage of AI, generative AI, new forms of the internet, is where is the humanity in it if the humanity is always about interpersonal relationships? I cited a lot of things, still citing, still going. Thank you.